They are doing this so tongue-in-cheek and ridiculous, self-referential, making fun of themselves.
It was a good night for CRPG lovers, right?
So Cracked came out with their new announcement here. I just recently learned that this thing is called Cracked, like the company. I thought it was like CRKD.
I was going to say, I had no idea. You just blew my mind.
If you guys rewind, you're going to hear me gasp when he says Cracked, and I go, that's how you say it?
So I was...
Instant Gaming is a place to get keys for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo games. They have regular deals. Right now, I'm seeing that they have Arc Raiders, which is on sale. It's normally $40 on Steam, and right now you can pick it up for $35 on Instant Gaming. LEGO Voyagers, which is currently up to win Best Family Game at the Game Awards, is $24 on Steam, and it's only $14.29 on Instant. If you buy a lot of games, you could save a lot of money in an instant by checking out instantgaming.com. Again, that's instantgaming.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to the NerdNest podcast. It's me, Bill Fairchild, your host. We've got a lot to talk about today. We've got the Game Awards to talk about. There is a really cool company. Well, I don't know if the company's cool, but they make some cool products, and that company is going out of business, apparently. If the rumors are to be believed, Capcom says it wants to make certain of its franchises more popular, make them the bigger ones that they usually don't focus on. I have an interview with the CEO of Input Labs, and we've got 1,000 other things to talk about. And we means me and Russ and Rich. Rich, what's going on, man?
Not too much, man. Recovering from the Keeleys. It was a show. I was there for it, and I watched it. I assume you watched it.
I did. And I'm going to say, well, we'll talk about what my thoughts about it are in a second, but I was watching it as just like you, over the internet. I was not there. Yes. Russ, were you there?
I was not there. In fact, I didn't even watch it. So I was working on my own Game Awards show. I released my favorite handhelds of 2025 video this morning. And so I was working through that through the night. And so I missed the whole thing. So I get to be like the ignorant guy for this podcast where I'm like, oh, they won. I know Expedition won everything, but still, it's like, I don't know anything. I haven't seen any trailers. So I'm excited to hear about it from you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I will say that in January, probably the first show back from after we go on a brief hiatus because of Christmas time. We're going to have an episode next week, but the week after, we're probably not going to have an episode, or at least I don't think we will. It depends on everybody's schedule, but probably not. But then the week after that, when we come back, I think we're going to try and do our own awards of everything from this year, and we're going to make up our own categories. If you have suggestions for categories, I don't promise that we'll use them, but leave them in comments down below, and we can me and the guys will talk about it, or I guess the guys and I will talk about it if I'm going to be grammatically correct. But let's talk about, as you call it, Rich, the Keeleys. That's funny. I've never heard somebody call it that before. Jeff Keighley did his usual thing where he gets up on stage and throws a bunch of advertising at us, and I kind of eat up that kind of advertising. I love game trailers. I love getting excited for things. My wife is somebody who, like, we're for movie trailers. She never watches a trailer. She hates trailers. She doesn't want to be spoiled on anything. I'm like, give me all that stuff because it doesn't ruin a thing for me. And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit. I feel like every year there's a controversy with the Game Awards. Every single year there's some kind of controversy with the Game Awards. I have not really been on Twitter or whatever.
I was going to say, do you not know what the controversy is for?
That's what I was going to ask. What is the controversy this year? Because I've been. Is there?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'll narrow it down to three.
Okay.
Number one,
3's a lot.
Number one, no Half-Life 3. Right? Somehow people got their hopes up. Even I, who am full of hopium for HLX Half-Life 3, did not expect it to be announced at the Game Awards. But a lot of people did expect it to be announced at the Game Awards. So a lot of people got their hopes up for Half-Life 3.
Don't tell us the next controversy yet, though.
Okay.
Is that what you were about to do?
I was about to.
Okay.
This one leads into the next controversy, but I'll leave that for later.
Well, here's my question. Is that a controversy? Like, that doesn't seem like a controversy to me.
It seems like an annual controversy if so, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've been experiencing that for 20 damn years.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't know. I know a lot of people were talking about it. A lot of people were like, between Reddit and social media, a lot of people were like foaming at the mouth for it. And also you look at the comments, if you happen to look at the comments during live chat, like
God, no.
Yeah, I know. But it was full of HLX hopium. But is it a controversy? I guess that's arguable for sure.
Okay. So how does that lead into the next one?
If you watched it, Bill, so as you probably know, at the end of the night, when Jeff was getting ready to announce one more thing, people were hyped up for Half-Life 3, and then not Half-Life 3, but then he said the creators of Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends. So then people got hyped up, presumably for like a Titanfall 3, right?
Right.
But that's not what it was. The last reveal was Highguard, which apparently no one cares about. I thought it looked interesting, but I understand that in the context of one more thing, right? One last reveal, Highguard was a very disappointing reveal. So Russ, for your context, Highguard is a squad hero shooter with horseback riding, apparently. So I think it's going to be like 3v3, 4v4. I don't know that we know the player size yet, but it's another hero shooter. So people were comparing it to Concord. I honestly think it looks a lot more interesting to me than Concord did during its reveals. But I understand people are disappointed.
So I missed that. I did not see the one more thing. Like after they did Game of the Year award and he did his acceptance speech, I turned it off and watched something else.
I think this one was before the Game of the Year award. I believe so. And but to your point, if you weren't fully paying attention, nobody was excited about this, right? So it
just looked like the same game we already have.
Yeah, you saw the Mega Man announcement, right?
I did.
Yes. So this came, I think, right after the Mega Man announcement, but right before the performance for the Game of the Year award, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Russ, are you itching to play yet another hero shooter?
I was just looking at the trailer and it looks okay. Like it reminds me a bit of Avowed kind of, and just kind of its colorfulness and this little bit floaty feeling, and it looks okay, but I don't like those kind of games. Like I don't like any competitive stuff that just makes me all stressed out. So no, Mega Man is more my ride. I'm looking at right now, and that's a little bit better looking.
I am both. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll pivot right to it. I am both so happy and so disappointed in the Mega Man reveal. The disappointment is a joke. It's just the fact that it's 2027, right? Like, like you got me hyped up for a new 2D Mega Man, and you feel like 2D Mega Man takes very little time to make. That's not the case at all, but just sometimes you feel that way, right? And so now I got to wait a whole year. So. That's disappointing, but I'm very excited for Mega Man Dual Override.
How do you guys feel about the graphics of the game? Like, I feel like it looks too new. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I see Mega Man, my brain wants it to be sprite based. Like, I want it to look more like Mega Man X than it does like this new 3D, but it's a 2D game, but it's made with 3D assets. And that just kind of kills it a little bit for me.
Yeah, there was a PSP version of Mega Man X and Mega Man Maverick Hunters X, I think. And that one, I can't get into that one because it's got like updated like polygon graphics and stuff. And that kind of gives me these vibes right here too. And that, I'd love a more pixel based one, something like the Dotemu games would be really cool. But but this, I don't know, we'll see. I'm just worried it's going to require a lot of hardware to run, which would be crazy.
That's a good point. In terms of graphics, it just looks to me like the last Mega Man, which was Mega Man 11. And I adore Mega Man 11. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. I know 9 and 10 were like the throwbacks. So it went back to like the NES style. And I think maybe the people that love those games just never played Mega Man 11, but I adore 11. It's so good.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which is a similar kind of thing where it looks nice and it's 2D-ish, but it's also pretty demanding, like as a game. And so I can kind of see that happening here too. Like I'm always surprised every time I'm like, oh, I'll just play Lost Crown. I'll install it on my Steam Deck. And it's like 20 something gigs or whatever it is. I'm like, okay, never mind. Let's play something else.
Yep, that's fair.
We need the Arrow, is it Arrowhead that makes
Helldivers?
It needs the Helldivers treatments.
Yeah. That would
definitely
be nice.
Okay, before we move on to the other things that were announced there, like that brings me to the story that I found over on PC Gamer actually like a couple of days ago. And apparently Capcom says that it wants Mega Man. This one's for you, Rich. Devil May Cry and Ace Attorney to be core IPs like Monster Hunter and Street Fighter. Basically, they're saying, look, these are B-tier games, and they don't want them to be B-tier games. I think that sounds awesome. I'm excited for that. I don't really care about, what was the third one that I said? The lawyer one? I can never remember.
Ace Attorney, yeah.
I don't care about Ace Attorney at all. And I also don't care about Devil May Cry, but I think that a lot of people love these franchises and they don't get nearly as much as they don't get releases as nearly as often as I think people'd like.
Yeah, there was a relevant Resetera thread recently that was like, I'm reading it now. Capcom has announced IP revivals at 2 TGAs now. Will they announce another in 2026? So back in 2024, they announced Okami 2 and Onimusha. I think this thread this was after. So, and then then last night they announced Mega Man, right? So this is now predicting, will there be another one? But the point is,
Devil May Cry.
Right. Even last year, they announced Okami 2, which, by the way, that's Kamiya coming back to Capcom, which is a big deal for me, right? And Onimusha. My take on this is just that I totally agree. This is something that they should do, right? Like all of the big companies kind of forget their IP. And that's something that Nintendo in particular has been really good about. I think all of the big companies kind of see that there's a lull in the IP and they think, okay, we'll come back to this another time. And they never do that, right? And so they let it go dormant, whereas Nintendo is always going to, I mean, there's plenty of dormant IP from Nintendo, but at least like Mario, Metroid, like Zelda, they're always going to come back to things. And even when there is a long dormancy like F-Zero, Pikmin, they'll try to kind of still appease some of those folks in one way or another, right? Whether it's cameos or different, spin-off sort of games, they always have something that they're working on. Whereas, I think Capcom, Square Enix, they just let a lot of like valuable nostalgia bait, really, right? To an extent, just go dormant, and they shouldn't do that, in my thought.
So one plug for Ace Attorney. I'm playing Dispatch right now, and I'd love to see like an Ace Attorney Dispatch kind of makeover where it's more interactive and kind of more like a visual, like a TV show, is what Dispatch feels like. I'd love to see something like that. If it's just going to be more the clicking A to get to the next wall of text, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like I played through the original ones on the DS, back in the day, but like I can't get through like the updated trilogies or anything like that. It's too much, and so I would love to see a new updated, just kind of focus on that, but there's a lot of IP that Capcom's also leaving on the table. I mean, like Dino Crisis and Lost Planet and was it Dead Rising? Like there are a ton of awesome Capcom sort of games that would be really cool to see nowadays. But yeah, I'm happy to see these three, but I'd like to see something a little bit, more forgotten.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I'd also really like them to work on optimizing their games so that they run better. If you look at Monster Hunter Wilds, they mentioned Monster Hunter, so I'm going to mention Monster Hunter. I love that game, but it runs like shit. And it shouldn't run like shit because they're a big company. Like, they should have figured that nonsense out. You know what I mean? All right, let's talk about some of the other things that got announced. We talked about Mega Man. I'm scrolling through here. Okay, I got to talk about the new Star Wars game. So that happened very early on in the Game Awards, and as I was watching it, we didn't know what it was at first, and then I saw the spaceship land, and my immediate thought was, this is the game from not Interstellar. What's the one where they got like a Porsche Intergalactic? Thank you. They got like a Porsche spaceship, and they're wearing Chucks or whatever. And I thought, oh, maybe this is that, because I was only half paying attention because I missed the very beginning, and I was trying to watch it at 2x speed to catch up. And I was watching this, and then when they landed, and then the gate to the ship opens up, and I saw like the hydraulics that hold it up. I was like, that's some Star Wars stuff that I'm seeing right here. Like, that's what I know. My brain said that's a Star Wars kind of thing, and they hadn't announced that it was Star Wars yet. And then the thing zooms in on the lady's face, and you hear the lightsaber turn on. I'm like, what is this game? And then it says Star Wars Fate, and I was like, okay. And then they get the pop where they say, of the Old Republic, and I was like, holy cannoli, I am excited for this. One of my all-time favorite games is, well, first off, Star Wars, not the Knights of the Old Republic, which is this single-player RPG from back in the day. So freaking good. I've played it 1 billion times, never finished it, but I've started it 1,000 times, and played it. I own like 6 different platforms of this game. I got it on PC, I got it on iPad, I got it on Nintendo or whatever. I can't remember all the places that I paid for this game. So I probably have 50, 60 hours in this game, where I've started it over 1,000 times. And then there's just the Old Republic, which was the MMO. I love that world of all of the like Luke Skywalker saga stuff. I love what they do with that. And to see this, I'm just like, heck yes. Russ, this is your first time hearing about the new Star Wars game.
Yeah. No, so I watched the trailer in real time as you were describing it. So I saw the hydraulics when you said it, and I saw the Fate and then the Old Republic. So I was watching it while you were describing it, and your timing.
And I wasn't even watching it. I was just talking from memory.
Yeah. So, yeah, this looks exciting. Like, it looks nice, like really good graphics and stuff. But game director is Casey Hudson, who did Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect. And so old school BioWare, I think that's really awesome. Yep. Yeah, I'm excited about this. It says narrative-driven single-player action RPG. That's like, I'm for it. I like all 3 of those words.
Yeah. I'm super excited.
It was a good night for CRPG lovers, right? Between,
hell yes.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but between this and I guess at least 2 other games, right? I will say, we mentioned last week, my time with CRPGs, I don't have a lot of finished CRPGs. I have a good number of ones that I've started, none that I've finished. I never played KOTOR Knights of the Old Republic, but I love Mass Effect 1 and 2. I never played 3. I just happened to never get to it. And so I know, the history of Knights of the Old Republic sort of being the spiritual predecessor to the Mass Effect series. And that was always something I wanted to get back to. But this might be my chance, right? Good time to get into the game.
Yeah, I think so. Well, you've got plenty of time, because apparently the company that's working on this game, they're partnering with LucasArts, obviously, but the company working on this, I guess this company was founded a month ago. So that makes me think
quick announcement.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time. Do you remember when we saw the announcement for like Wolverine back in the day, the first time?
Yep.
So sometimes when they do this, they make a trailer and they're like, this is what we're working on. Okay. Now devs come apply so that you can work on this game. And I think that's what we're going to see here. Like, this is going to be a game. I wish that they hadn't told us this. I wish they would just wait until it was closer. I hate when they announce things years ahead of time, like the Elder Scrolls 6. Like, how many years has it been? What was that?
Beyond Good and Evil 2. still like just disappeared, you know. And then like Last Guardian, like that was the Team Ico game. Like they announced that thing like 6 years early or whatever. Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I think it's going to be a while before we actually get our hands on with this game, but I am very much looking forward to it. I hope that for those of you who have played Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, there's a droid that you can have join your party, and he calls you Meatbag because he's a jerk. And then in Star Wars The Old Republic, you have to fight him as like in like a raid or something. And I hope that he's still around for the third one because he's a droid. And it would just be it would just be really cool to see. I forget his name because you know it's letters and numbers, but I want to be called Meatbag again. You know, let's get back to that.
I like it.
All right. So that was Fate of the Old Republic. Russ, I know you haven't watched all these, but you can, if you scroll down far enough in the Engadget article, you can see like the thumbnails. Is there anything that jumps out at you that you're like, okay, that's something that I want to hear about?
Yeah, so I clicked on Pragmata already just because, because it said Capcom. And it's interesting. It looks like Death Stranding plus Megan. Like that girl looks like that Megan movie, like that little robot girl. The girl kind of looks like her. Right, she's got like dead eyes. And so it looks okay. I'm not a fan of like protecting the girl kind of storyline stuff, you know, like Resident Evil 4 when you gotta like protect Ashley. Like it's always the most annoying part to me, you know, when there's a helpless character you got to take care of. But I don't know. It looks kind of fun. It looks very action, third person. I could see myself getting into it, but I got a couple hesitations with just the kind of format of it. But yeah, looks good.
There is.
Go ahead.
Go for it, Bill.
Okay, if you go to 30 seconds in the trailer, there's like this weird moment where you're getting attacked and then a puzzle pops up on screen and you have to like solve that puzzle. That's so weird to me.
Like a quick time event. Yeah.
It's different kind of quick time event though. It's not like just press X. Like you have to navigate around these triangles to get to the green dot. And it doesn't look like it's difficult, but it's a very weird gameplay mechanic that I've never seen before. What were you going to say, Rich?
So this is not the first time this game is being shown, right? I think it's the second time, I want to say.
Yeah, I think we've seen it before.
And this was in the like preview. So this is in the pre-show. But there's a demo for this available. So you can download some demo on Steam. I haven't tried it. I do worry about, like you said, like the escort sort of stuff. But I don't know, like this is one of those things where it really depends on like who are the folks at Capcom that are working on this, because it could be some really cool stuff from depending on the folks that are working on this. But it seems like it's trying to do a lot, and that's what worries me too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's going to be less like an escort thing and more like, you know how in Donkey Kong Bonanza, the girl is on your back and she's just an extra character that's yapping in your ear while you're playing. I wonder if that's what this is going to be like. I will say that this is, I believe Rich is right. This is the second time that we've seen a trailer for this game, and neither time has it looked particularly interesting to me, even though it's a Capcom game. So, yeah, it's a little, I'm not super hyped about it, but I like that there's a demo. I mean, that's the one thing that I always say. If you believe in your game, if you think that you're going to make a good product, put out a demo and sell me on it. Because there's been plenty of games where I've been excited for it and there was no demo and I bought it and I was like, man, screw you. I got screwed. That happened last week. We could talk about that later a little bit maybe. But there's also been times where I've seen a game and I've been like, I'm not really interested in that. But then there's a demo and I try it and I'm like, ooh, that's awesome. Like I really like ARMS, which nobody but me likes, but I freaking love that game. Like that game is so much fun. But when I first saw it, I was like, this looks stupid. But when you actually play it, I think it's a pretty decent game. I think it got a bad rap. All right, Rich, what game you want to talk about next?
Okay.
And we're not going to hit all of them.
No, I'm going to go straight to, what's the name of this one? Sorry, I'm almost there. Here I am. It is called Order of the Sinking Star. So this is by Tekla or Thekla. I don't know how it's pronounced. But the studio headed by Jonathan Blow. So the studio that created Braid and The Witness. I love those puzzle games. And this has been sort of on my radar for a while. I happen to sometimes watch John Blow, like not his streams, but some of the recordings of his streams. And he is a person who I disagree with a lot when it comes to like personal sentiments, but I find his views on software engineering very interesting, right? So like I watch for that sort of stuff. And so this is a Sokoban game that he's been working on for a while as he's building up his programming language. So he's building a new programming language called Jai. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I just have a question because you said that yesterday. You said it's a Sokobai game, and I don't know what the hell that is, and I didn't remember to look it up.
Yes. So for those that don't know, Sokoban is a genre of puzzle games, and they're puzzle games where you push blocks. You push, potentially pull blocks. And so this game in particular is a remix of some very popular Sokoban games. So Heroes of Sokoban is a Sokoban series. Promised, Mirror Isles, Skipping Stones. These are all different Sokoban games. And so John and the team, Tekla, are taking these games and sort of remaking some of the levels and some of the mechanics in their game, Order of the Sinking Star. And there's just apparently like over 1,000 puzzles. The game, looks humongous, but I always love these. I already love Sokoban games, and I love the Tekla games I've played so far. So I'm looking forward to this one. One more thing I want to mention is that 2 of those Sokoban games that are kind of remixed into here were made by Dracnet, who is another puzzle game developer, and has made a lot of great puzzle games. And he has a long thread on Blue Sky about his complicated feelings about this game. So number one, what I just said about, this being a bunch of indie games put together, but just kind of John's name being at the forefront of everything. And so like this sort of like auteur obsessed culture that we may sometimes have. And then number 2 is complicated feelings about Jonathan Blow, who has called Trump the best president and loudly supports Elon Musk. So yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, like when you say this guy, are you saying his games are in this game without permission?
No, not without permission.
Okay.
It's a collaborative effort, which is why there are complicated feelings, right? So all of these folks either licensed or licensed their games or collaborated. So there's nothing, as far as I know, kind of shady about John or these games being used in Order of the Sinking Star. I think that was all done on the up and up. It's just there are complicated feelings around that for various reasons.
Right. It's kind of like when I bought, I forget what the hell it's called. Russ, you'll know what it is. It's a Game Boy, but it's not the analog pocket.
I just forgot the name. Mod Retro.
Yeah,
Chromatic.
The Mod Retro. So I bought that. And then after I bought it, because I saw it and I was like, shit, this looks cool. So then I bought it, and then I found out like what the guy does and who it was. And I was like, I feel kind of gross for having bought that. I get what he's saying there. Yeah. All right. So that one actually looks cool. I asked you during, I was like, do you think these puzzles are procedurally generated? Because there were just so many of them. But the fact that they are going and getting other puzzles and that have already been designed and then just putting them in his new programming language, that makes sense why there were so many puzzles in it. Also means you can probably have pretty easy updates if you can go find other Sokoban games.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Let's, I want to talk for a second about this game that kind of blew me away. I don't know if I'm excited about it, but it's so different that I definitely want to talk about it. And that is Bradley the Badger, which I don't see a trailer on the website that I had shown you guys. But if you, way up at the top, it has a link. Oh, yeah. Way up at the top of the article, it's got a link to the Bradley the Badger part. Russ, this game is bananas. Essentially, you play as this badger guy, and you are going through and platforming, but you have the power to change the levels of the platforms as you're playing. And I think that it looks really cool. Like at about the 58-second mark, you can see where he's starting to adjust things in the world. And then they're also making fun of different genres of games. So like there's the Cyber Badger and then the Last Badger and all of these. Yeah, it's really interesting. I like the art style. It looks like one of the old school mascot games, but I also really like the different mechanics that seem to be used in each world. And the thing that it reminds me of is Astrobot. Because when you play Astrobot, you go to the next level and suddenly you have like these new abilities and the whole level is designed around using those abilities. And that's what this seems like to me. And I think that that's pretty exciting.
I want to add one thing before I hear your thoughts, Russ, because you might be interested in this. One of the key creative folks behind this is David Soliani, the developer or the guy behind Mario Rabbids Rabbid Kingdom? Matt,
Mario plus Rabbids, I think is the name of it.
Mario plus Rabbids something Kingdom. Battle Kingdom? Yeah.
Something.
You get the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted
the guy that was crying when Miyamoto said that his game was awesome.
Correct.
And everybody was like, "Oh, endearing."
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm loving the tongue-in-cheekness of this. It looks like there's a Bloodborne version of this game. And it's funny, I hope that they're able to keep all of this stuff and not get sued or whatever. But yeah, this is good stuff. I like that it's like, it feels different. Like each part feels like its own thing. And so it's almost a little bit beyond Astrobot, which does have its own feeling, but it's just a new coat of paint in a lot of those levels, whereas this one kind of feels completely different. And so, yeah, I think this looks pretty cool. It reminds me of a game called 1980X. Have you guys seen that game? It's like 198X. It's
I have that.
Switch.
It's great.
And so it just changes things up all the time, and that's a really fun aspect of it. And so I'm hoping for something like that where it really does, they go the full Monty and really change it up as opposed to a new coat of paint on these different levels. And it feels like it, like there's a car mechanic in The Last of Us 1. Bloodborne is definitely like a action RPG. And so, yeah, those look kind of cool.
All right, so that was something I picked. Russ,
yeah,
what thumbnails jump out at you that you want to chat about?
So I looked at another one called Coven of the Chicken Foot. Did you guys watch that one? So it's like cel shaded, like animated looking, but it also has like a partnership mechanic to it, kind of like Team Ico is where the original Ico game, like it's like you've got the beast and you've got you and you guys together need to like solve the puzzle. And so this looks cool to me. This is more interesting to me than the Jonathan Blow one because it feels more like you're just progressing in rooms, like towards some sort of goal, as opposed to the Jonathan Blow one, which is like 1,000 puzzles. And I'm like immediately not interested because I'm like, I don't have time for that, but something like this sounds a lot more interesting to me where it's kind of like, like you're following a story and you've got these like barriers that you have to get through and you've got to kind of puzzle solve to get to the next one, kind of like Portal or something, like I like that style of game in particular more. And so this one looks cool and it looks great, like and it's interesting, like you're playing as an old lady, which is kind of neat, feet. And so she's like a little bit hampered overall, which is kind of neat.
I like that she's very floaty because of her dress. Like her dress catches the air as she jumps and it makes her fall slowly. And like when we were in our Discord, I was watching this trailer in real time and I go, this lady's got chicken feet. And then Rich, you responded, but did you notice it before I said it or did you notice it after?
No, I noticed. Yeah, my daughter and I were both watching the Game Awards and I didn't say anything, but I noticed it. And then she's like, she has chicken feet. And I'm like, yep. She sure does. And Russ, for context, we hadn't seen the title yet, right? So it's just like, why does this old woman have chicken feet? Like, it was super weird. But yeah, no, it looks really interesting. Another behind the scenes tidbit for you, Russ. This is from The Last of Us director Bruce Straley. So,
oh, wow.
yeah, more good pedigree, I guess you could say. I did, when I saw this, I thought this was more, you're mentioning companion type game, like Team Ico games. When I saw it, I thought it was more like Split Fiction, but I see it as a companion sort of game. So, very interesting. I definitely want to play this.
I got to say, too, that this is actually, I really like this game title. Like, because it's very unique, it's evocative, right? Coven of the Chicken Foot. I love it. Like this is a complete opposite of something like Expedition 33, or High Guard. Like that, I immediately forgot the name of that game as soon as you guys said it, right? But Coven of the Chicken Foot, I'm gonna remember that, and I love that it's all C's, like Coven of the Chicken Foot. Like, yeah. There's so much that's really neat about this titling.
They really need to sell shirts, like. That is something that people would buy. Coven of the Chicken Foot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing about the game that I like is there's a one point in the trailer where the big thing, whatever it is that you're with the lady, he brings over like a pot, and instead of handing it to her, he just shoves it on her head like it's a hat, and he just kind of slams it on there. There's a humor to that. They're not telling a joke, but they're showing something. And when I saw it, I was like, that's funny. I didn't laugh, but I said, that's funny. And that's something I always appreciate.
Yeah.
Rich, is there another game you want to chat about?
Yeah, I'm going to pick two. I'm going to take this opportunity to pick two games at once. So there were two Tomb Raider games announced. And these are the first pair of Tomb Raider games since Amazon has the IP, so this is Amazon publishing these games. Both of them have Crystal Dynamics tied to them. I don't know how much development Crystal Dynamics is doing on either or both. The first that was mentioned or shown was Tomb Raider Catalyst. So this one's coming out in 2027. The trailer didn't show much, but it takes place after the most modern trilogy. What's that trilogy called? Legacy
I don't
trilogy?
think does it have a name? I know that there's Tomb Raider and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider and then something
Legend
of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, yeah.
Okay.
Rise.
I don't know what legend I'm thinking of. Okay. But yes, it takes place after the modern trilogy. She has gray hair. The trailer didn't show much, right? It looks fine, but I didn't get much from it. I'm more interested in Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, which comes out next year. And in addition to Amazon and Crystal Dynamics, Flying Wild Hog is working on this. So Flying Wild Hog, responsible for Hard Reset, Shadow Warrior, Evil West. And this is, I think, the second time they're remaking Tomb Raider. So the first one being Tomb Raider Anniversary. I am more than okay with that. Mind you can still play your original copy of Tomb Raider 1 on Steam. They have the remaster in the Tomb Raider 1 to 3 trilogy. So there are plenty of ways to get your original Tomb Raider fix. So I am okay with another remake, and this one looks pretty damn good so far. So I'm holding out hope.
Yeah, and they're coming out right now. 1 year after the other.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, this is looking great. Like I liked the original PlayStation ones, and this just feels like a nice upgrade in many ways. And I like that it has a bit of a video gamey, cartoony style as opposed to the more hyper realistic ones. The previous one, they were so punishing to Lara the whole time, And I like that this is more like a video game. And so, yeah, I'm excited about this one too.
It was good to see the blue latex tank top make a comeback. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Old school Lara. Very cool.
Yeah.
The fact that it takes place after the modern ones, the ones where she gets killed in the worst possible ways. I find that to be really interesting that now it's almost like I'm trying to think of how or what a good example is. I can't think of it. There's a movie that you watch, and no, not a movie. It's the newest Spider-Man trilogy, where when you watch that, at the end, when it happens, which I won't spoil, but when it happens, it's that was his origin story. But the first time that we saw the first one with Tom Holland, and you watch it, you're like, oh, they're just going to skip the origin story. Okay, that makes sense. Let's just watch what's happening. And I feel like the trilogy that we saw, if you're saying that this is continuing that, then that seems like that's her origin story. And now we're caught up to where we started back when the original Tomb Raider games came out, because now she's got her iconic outfit on, and she's a world-renowned badass. Whereas in the first, in these ones, the new modern ones, she was trying to find her way. She wasn't the badass yet. And I always thought that was, I think that's kind of cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
All right. So I guess, you know what I got to talk about is Lego Batman 2. It's not the first time that we've seen this, or not Lego Batman 2, but Lego Batman, whatever it's called, Legacy of the Dark Knight.
You got it.
Holy cow. I'm not usually somebody who gets excited about Lego games, but this looks fantastic. It looks like it plays like the Arkham games, but looks like a Lego game and has all that humor in it at the same time. And I love that they've got like the Batmobile from like the Tim Burton one. They've got Ra's al Ghul. They have the Joker from the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. Like, all of that stuff is great, and I cannot wait to play this game. What do you guys think about this? Russ, are you interested in Batman, Lego Batman Legend of the Dark Knight?
Yeah, the other Lego Batmans came out like when all the Lego games were really samey, where it was just kind of like new configuration, but it was all the same thing. And at the time, my 16-year-old, he was loving those games. So he played through them. But this, ever since I feel like basically the Skywalker saga was like this huge change for the company, where it just became so fun and so diverse. And I'm hoping that they stick with that with this one. And so I got a lot of faith in a new Lego game compared to the older ones. And so, yeah, I'd be interested in this one too.
Rich, have you played the Skywalker saga one?
No, I haven't played a Lego game since they first came out, like the original Lego games. And this definitely caught my eye, right? And like you said, everyone shows up. There's Robin, Catwoman, Batgirl, Nightwing, Joker, Poison Ivy. Like the roster is just incredible. And then there's homages to everything, right? Like all the games, all the movies. Like there's the Arkham Asylum intro with like Joker being wheeled in to Arkham Asylum. You mentioned like the Heath Ledger Joker, and like there's a scene where Batman like picks him up by the collar and presses him up against the wall, and that's redone here. So there's just a lot of like homages. It hits all the notes. One thing I felt like maybe is missing, hopefully they prove me wrong, are like Predator levels from the Arkham games. I don't just want the combat, I want the Predator style gameplay. And maybe it's not Batman, maybe it's Catwoman. There was some like variety in the Catwoman gameplay. Maybe the other characters will bring some of that variety to the gameplay.
Can you remind me what you mean by the Predator levels? Do you mean like when he's being stealthy?
Exactly.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't show any of that. And I agree. I do hope that they have that in there.
Yes, 100%. That would be awesome.
All right. Russ, anything else that you want to talk about in the Game Awards that jumps out? Yeah.
One more. Control Resonant. I just watched it, and holy smokes. Like, I thought it was like DLC or something, but that's a new game. It's outdoors, which like, I don't know why that's so exciting, but that is really exciting to me. And the combat looks very different. It's more physical. Yeah, this one looks good. Like, it feels almost like a cityscape, Elden Ring, mind-bending kind of thing, which I liked about Control. I mean, it's like one of the few games that I actually found pretty difficult and was able to play through, and because I loved it so much. And this feels like, I'm going to like this one a lot.
So I have a quick question. Let's see if I remember this correctly from yesterday. I'm trying not to overload my computer by opening everything up. In this, the combat, it seemed like one thing that it reminded me of, I can't think of the name. There's a PlayStation, I think it was an exclusive for a while, it might not be anymore, where it's a third-person shooter roguelike, and like there's bullet hell.
Returnal?
Yes, Returnal, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered seeing something in the combat of the Control game that reminded me of Returnal, like when they're shooting at something and like there's some bullets that are coming out in like certain ways, and I was like, ooh, that looks really cool. Is that kind of like Returnal style gameplay? very different than Control.
I'm looking at it now, and it kind of feels to me like almost old school God of War. Is what it kind of feels like.
There's more melee in this game.
Yeah, like he's like jumping and then hitting the guy in the air, and they're staying in the air. Like it's a very Devil May Cry, very God of War kind of feeling. And so I think it's a little bit different. Returnal for me is a dodge and shoot sort of game. Yeah. This feels more like you're in it. You know,
maybe I'm thinking of a different game.
Saurus, I think is the name of the Returnal follow-up, or Saros. Either way, there's an S, an A, and an R, and an O in there. That looks phenomenal too. But yeah, Control is funny. You mentioned you thought it was DLC. There's a lot of sentiment as to like why did you name it Control Resonant as opposed to just Control 2? Like that might have gotten a lot more, might have been a lot more memorable for folks. And it feels like a Control 2, right? Like this is not a side game. This is a full on sequel. There's a new main character, new environment. It's in Manhattan, and that looks awesome here. It maybe should be noted, although Control was on Steam, the other Remedy games weren't on Steam. What was it, Alan Wake 2? But Control 2 is already on Steam, so looking forward to that. And yeah, that combat looks sick. I'm really excited for this one. This one looks awesome.
I think I was mixing up the Sora, the one from the same devs as Sora that like the horror game, but it had like some bullet hell stuff in it. So that's what I was mixing up. Sorry for the confusion.
No, you're good.
All right. So we got Control. I think it's Rich. It's your turn, right?
Yes.
Hit us.
I don't want to leave without talking about Divinity.
Yes.
What? First of all, that trailer was nasty.
Very nasty. I will not be putting that on B-roll for the podcast.
Yeah, because
that was
gruesome.
Gross.
Yeah,
very.
But in an awesome way, right? Like wow, they committed to it. And so it was only a cinematic trailer, but like if you're gonna do a cinematic trailer, I feel like that's how you should do it, right? Like you're setting a tone. Like even if I have no idea what to expect from the gameplay, I have a lot now to kind of go off of in terms of tone, environment. Like there's a lot there. And I'm bearing the lead. This is Larian Studios' next game, right? So this is the next game from Baldur's Gate developers, and it's just called Divinity. No Original Sin, no Divinity 2, 3, whatever. So they're kind of doing the reset thing. But either way, and another bearing the lead. They said that this is going to be their biggest game ever. So,
right.
If Baldur's Gate 3 was too long for you, don't even look over here.
You know what? You're not wrong. So have either of you guys played Divinity Original Sin 1 or 2?
Just like the first hour, not much.
Yeah, okay. I played like an hour or two, and it was really good. Just the CRPG curse. I'll get back to it.
Right. It's hard to get back to that. There's some really cool mechanics in that I really haven't seen other places. Like, first off, it has split screen multiplayer, which is really cool. And as you're playing like a CRPG with split screen multiplayer, that's fairly unique. But the other thing that I really like is when you go in and like you're having a conversation, let's say that Russ is the NPC and Rich and I are the players who are playing. Well, we would both pick dialogue options when we go to talk to this NPC, and then the game will roll a die to see which one that we pick. So like imagine you're sitting there next to your spouse or your kid or whatever, and you're playing this game and you're like, you pick this one thing and then they pick the other thing. And then that dice roll comes up and you are glued to the TV to see what comes up. Is it going to be mine? Is it going to be theirs? It's just a really cool thing. And the whole world that they built with the Divinity games that I've played is just really cool. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's not Dungeons and Dragons. You play as like this wizard kind. I can't remember the terminology. You play as like this wizard thing, but it's like it's kind of like illegal to be a wizard, or it's frowned upon to be that, kind of like The Witcher, where you're like people don't like that particular thing. Right. And I just really, it's got a great controller interface. So I'm looking forward to this. Looks like it's a really long way off, though. That, like, if you're only showing a cinematic trailer, I think we're going to see which one do you guys think is going to come out first? This or Star Wars: Fate of the Old Republic?
I'm giving it to this. I'm giving it to this.
At least early access.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, all their games, all of Larian games launch in early access. That's why they're so damn good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we got that one. This one, you know what? I'm going to go from something that's really dark and gruesome to something that's light and hilarious. And that is the Street Fighter movie trailer. They are doing this so tongue-in-cheek and ridiculous, self-referential, making fun of themselves. When I saw the cast, I was like, I don't really care about this, but now that I've seen what they're doing and like the tone that they're going for, which is ridiculous, almost like a spoof of themselves, that is very interesting to me. Are either of you guys interested in the Street Fighter movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the casting for Bison is hilarious. M. Bison is what's his name? David. I don't know his last name, but that's like super funny. Yeah, I just watched it, and it's I'm gonna really enjoy that because it feels more like it's kind of a throwback to the '90s games as opposed to something more modern and gritty or whatever. They even got Dan in here. This is amazing.
So Russ, one of the things that I think you'd enjoy mentioning the '90s throwback, and mind you, the whole bit like was cringe where all the like Street Fighter actors came out, but it was also entertaining cringe, like Bill is saying.
Yeah, it was funny. It
was funny. And one of the things they did was they called out the Mortal Kombat movie cast in their bit. And so like it just it goes back to that 90s, like these two entities were like pitted against each other like nothing else, and kind of revives that spirit. I thought that was fun.
I think it was the director of the Mortal Kombat movie or something, not the director, the producer of the Mortal Kombat movie was like, that's not cool. Because basically what they did was they've got the whole cast standing on stage, and then or not the whole cast, because I guess there were some people that couldn't make it, but they had a bunch of the cast up on stage, and they're like, it feels like we don't have enough people up here, so we're going to bring out the Mortal Kombat movie cast. And then nobody came out, and they go, well, I guess they don't care about you guys. And they were like, oh, that's not nice. Or we don't have to step on other people in order to sell our movie or whatever. And I was like, it was a joke. Like, it was clearly a joke. You can't take it that seriously.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a zero-sum game. Like, I can only watch a Mortal Kombat movie and a Street Fighter movie, right? Like, come on.
I think that sentiment of just like pitting them against each other is just like that only helps everybody in this case, right? Like, it's just more of that nostalgia to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So that was Street Fighter. Russ, is there anything else in here that you want to hit before we move on?
I'm going to watch the other trailers at some point, but there's nothing that's really standing out to me yet. I think we should move on.
Okay. Rich, anything?
I just want to call out, and this is me now listing 4 games, but I'm going to go quick. I want to call out that there was a block of 4 games that were like directly targeted at Jimmy Champagne from Deck Ready and PS Ready. That I'm like, what? How did you manipulate this show? So first it was Diablo Paladins. There was a trailer for that. Is it Paladin? Is that the name? Diablo Paladins? Do you know?
I think that they're just announcing
like
the Paladin. Yeah, it's just the Paladin as the character or a playable class is being added to Diablo 4.
Right. So that Total War Warhammer 40K was debuted with Hopper, mind you. David Harbour did the debut. Then Ace Combat 8, and then Star Wars Galactic Racer. So that was the one that really interested me. That's coming in 2026. May or may not actually contain pod racing, but it is a racer in the Star Wars universe, and it's from former Criterion devs. That is one place where I am both optimistic, but only cautiously optimistic, right? Like we've heard games being made by former Criterion devs a bunch, and some of them have landed, some of them have not. So I don't know what to expect, but I'm curious.
I'm excited about the pod racing game. I think that looks cool. I remember playing the the hell out of the pod racing game on that was the N64, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I played that so much. That was a really, really fun game. I think that this could be fun too. But speaking of racing games, there was another racing game that they showed. I don't remember the name of it, and I don't see the trailer for it in the website that we're looking at in Gadget. But there was one where it looked like it was a story-based racing game, which to my knowledge, I can't think of a story-based racing game that exists. Like, I don't remember ever playing one. And the story is told through like anime art style. And I thought that looked really cool. And I like the idea of a story-based racing game.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of that either. I love the graphics on that. For story, I mean, like that depends. There's like Need for Speed; those have like campaigns and stuff. Midnight Club Racing has a narrative associated to it. But either way, I think that like that art style definitely grabbed my eye. So I'm curious to see where that lands. And I'm mad I don't remember the name of that game. That was in the pre-show too, right? Perhaps.
I'm not sure. I just remember seeing it and being like, wait, what kind of game is this? And then they like one of the anime guys goes, we need some cars. And then the cars show up and I was like, oh, it's a racing game. Cool.
Don't tell me that was the mobile game. Was that Umasume?
God, I hope not. I'm not going to play a friggin' mobile game.
Which is already out. No, that's a horse racing game. Then I have no idea.
Horse racing game?
That's completely different.
That is.
Neon Apex Beyond Limit.
That sounds, I mean, boy, that sounds like a mobile game right there. Just the name of it, Neon Apex Beyond Limit.
No, that's
totally
not
forgettable.
It either. Yeah.
All right, somebody in the comments will let us know what the hell it is.
Yeah.
Oh, so since you guys watched it and I didn't, can you give me some insight in what it was like to watch the awards themselves? Because me just looking at a text list, I'm like, this is a bloodbath, right? That Expedition 33 just got everything. And like, what was the feeling as you were watching? You're just like, oh, here it is again. You know, like one of those Oscar nights where just, you know, a whole suite kind of thing.
I felt like it was deserved. Like, when every time that they won, which I think was 9 out of 13. I think it was nominated 13 and it won 9. I'm not sure. My son told me that today. Every time it won, I was like, yeah, I don't have a problem with this. This is good. Like they made a really good game.
Yeah, I was going to say it depends on what you're looking at, Russ. So like the feeling in the room, like based on what you could hear, was it popped every time. Every time the award was announced and Clair Obscure won, there was a big pop, and a lot of the award acceptance speeches got big pops too, right? Like Jennifer English's acceptance speech was awesome.
It was
very beautiful. If you look at the live chat, man, just don't look at the live chat because the sentiment there was nasty. It was a lot of feeling like it was rigged, right? Like this game for some reason doesn't deserve to have the accolades that it has. I wonder, you know, what, and this is probably me giving too much credit, but I wonder what people would have expected to win things, right? Like probably Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That would be my best guess, right? But I would be surprised nonetheless, right? Because Expedition 33 was just heralded by so many folks, even aside from the Game Awards, that like I can't imagine being surprised that that's winning so many awards.
Yeah,
I think that.
Okay,
go ahead, Russ.
I was just going to say, like, just me looking at the list, I'm like, okay, best narrative plus best RPG, like, kind of makes me feel like, oh man, there's room there for someone else to be recognized. And same thing with Game of the Year and best game direction, where I'm like, honestly, in terms of game direction, I don't know if Clair Obscure would be an award winner for me, because there's some moments in that game that's kind of a mess, like trying to traverse the overworld and trying to like figure out where you're supposed to go next and stuff. I feel like a direction in a game kind of will streamline some of that stuff. And the fact that I got lost several times in that game, to me, means that there was a bit haphazard in development, which means that I would think that something else would get that award. But looking at the list that they have, I'm not sure what I would pick. Maybe Split Fiction. Death Stranding 2. I don't even know.
I remember seeing when the nominees were announced, I remember seeing somebody had tweeted out that if you're nominated for Game of the Year, pull them out of the rest of the categories so that other games can get recognition. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. I just saw that and I was like, oh, that's interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the same time,
the indie game one
best indie, like it is an indie game and it's also the game of the year. So for it to win best indie, or was it best indie or best new indie?
Both. It won both of them.
Both.
Oh, right. Yeah. See, that does kind of bother me a little bit, but the same thing with what Russ was saying. Like, as I look at it, I don't know what I would give it to over top of that in particular.
Yeah, I feel so. There was a Charlotte Azard video after the controversy about whether or not Clair Obscur is an indie game, and mostly she kind of exposed how little any of this should matter to you. I disagree with the sentiment about whether or not something is an indie game should matter to you, but the general notion that the Game Awards really shouldn't matter so much, even though she loves the Game Awards and thinks it's a show worth watching and a show worth celebrating, the actual awards shouldn't matter. And she goes into how, like, it's basically the body is very broad. The body of voters is very, very broad. No one talks about these games. There's no, like, verification that you've played the game. There's no discussion that happens. Right. It's essentially a popularity contest. But even aside from that, I don't have a strong feeling about, like, making some of those rules about, like, oh, if you're in one award, you should not be in the other. Because I also think that's trying to solve a problem that doesn't happen that often, right? The fact that Expedition 33, this is the biggest sweep that has ever happened in the Game Awards, right? They did win 9 awards, but this is the largest gap that there's ever been. And even then, you know, we're struggling to find other things that should win. I would like to have seen Split Fiction win more awards personally, but also, I mean, like, yeah, I haven't played much Expedition 33, so I can't say much here. But I'm just not mad that it won so many titles or so many awards.
I think that the fact that, as I forget who said it. One of you guys said that it was like it's a broad category of people who vote for this stuff. Part of me thinks that it really should just be the people who work in the industry that are voting on this stuff. I mean, also have, like, the award where, like, the players vote. Like, this is the Players' Choice Award, which they have. But I think that
even what I was describing was just not the players. It is the, like, people that work in the gaming industry, both in the development side and in press. It is amongst them, it is a broad body, right? Like, I think it's one of those things where it's like SAG, right? Like, once you're in, and you can vote, as opposed to what Charlana described, which was the BAFTA awards, where it's a small committee per award, right? Like, there's a handful of people for a given award, and those people you have to play each of the games that are nominated, and you have to have a discussion amongst yourselves, right? So it's very different between those two.
Yeah, I like the way that the Oscars do it. Sorry, I'll be real quick, Russ. I like that the way that the Oscars do it, where basically, like, let's say that a movie is nominated for Best Director, or a director is nominated for Best Director, then the people who vote on that are just the directors. If a movie is nominated for Best Hair and Makeup, the people who vote in that category are the people who are in the hair and makeup guild, or whatever it's called. I forget what I'm saying. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because then you're not voting for the game, you're voting for this part of the game, and that makes, or movie in this case, and I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, Russ, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, very similar to the Oscar thing. Like, it's a delicate balance, because there are many different genres, like, within the Game Awards. Like, they're trying to make sure that people aren't underrepresented, right? If it's just Game of the Year, just Director of the Year, Best Actress, like how it is in the Oscars, it's so broad that some games or some movies and games, like certain genres, get underrepresented. Like, when does a horror game win or a horror movie win anything at the Oscars, right? But if they had a best horror genre, then, you know, it would be a bit of a competition. So I appreciate that there are genre distinctions here, but it just is kind of crazy that Clair Obscur fell into 13 of those, and then ended up getting so many. Like, it's just, they're so similar in some ways, you know. And it feels just kind of a little strange. I mean, something like maybe the Golden Globes would be a better analogy, just because they do have genre classifications like best comedy versus best like a drama, and things like that. But I don't think there's a perfect way to go about it, but it does feel to me like, just outside looking in, I'm like, man, this was a sweep, and that's awesome for Clair Obscur, but it's also like kind of a bummer. Like, I don't see Split Fiction listed at all, which I think I didn't play it, but sounds like it was an amazing game and something I'm looking forward to playing, and something that I feel needs a bit more exposure than Clair Obscur does at this point too. And that's one of the bad things about the debut indie game and the other ones, is like maybe some of those other games would have gotten a big boost in sales and everything else by winning those categories, but they didn't have a chance.
Yeah. All right. Are we all done with the Game Awards, boys?
Yeah.
What do you give it, Bill?
This year, I really enjoyed watching it. I don't know if that I'm going to give it. I enjoyed it. 2 thumbs up. I had fun watching it. Part of that was because my son was up here and we were just sitting on the couch shooting the shit and watching it and being like, oh, look at that. Like, the thing that I don't care who wins.
Yeah.
I like that people get recognized, and I don't care who wins a specific award. The reason that I watch it is for the ads. Like, I watch it so that I can see all of the trailers for the games that I get to look forward to in the future. That's what I really watch for. I also love hearing the acceptance speeches and all of the stories behind the games. But as far as, this game should have won over that game, it doesn't bother me one way or the other.
Yeah. I like that you kind of shied away from giving a score, and I'm with you. I sort of let go of like critiquing the Game Awards as I was watching it, and just tried to enjoy it. And in retrospect, what I will say is it was a weak Game Awards in terms of trailers. Unfortunately, I don't think that there's anything like Jeff or the production crew can do about that, right? But I think it was in terms of like debuts, like there was a lot of exciting stuff, but there was nothing huge, right? And so that was a little bit weak, but outside of that, everything about the production felt like the best production that we've seen so far, I would say. Felt like when the people were like flying across the screen and they hit like on wires, that was really cool. I remember there was a moment where I leaned over to my son and I said, could you imagine being in that room right now? That is so freaking cool looking. Yeah, that was sick. So there were some moments like that, and I feel like the show more than ever felt genuine. It's always been a celebration of games, even though I do have some significant critiques about it. But it felt most like a celebration of games last night. Again, it was weak in terms of announcements, but what can you do about that?
Yeah. All right. Listen, we got to talk about Arcade 1-Up. But first, I'm going to... I earlier this week, I sat down with the CEO of Input Labs to talk about this controller right here, which is called the Alpakka controller. It's really weird. Now they have a second one. Well, this is actually their second one. But now they have a third one. And the third one looks more like a traditional controller, but has 4 freaking gyros in it. So, like, Rich, this thing I think might actually be for you. So
I'll try it.
I'm gonna run this the interview right now, and then we're gonna come back and talk about Arcade 1-Up. We'll be right back. And I'm here with Marcos Diaz. How's it going, Marcos?
Hello. It's going good. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing great. Very excited to talk to you. For those of you who have not seen my video about this controller right here, this is the Alpakka controller, and it's a really, really weird controller. It's probably the weirdest controller that I've ever seen in my life. And when Marcos reached out to me and said, hey, you want to check that thing out? I said, absolutely. And it's got some really cool features. But before we get to those features, Marcos, I'm curious, how long have you guys been working on the Alpakka controller?
So this whole thing started in 21, approximately. It was a pandemic hobby project. So the whole thing started, funny enough, because I broke my Steam controller.
No.
Yeah, so one of the bumpers broke, and I was like checking like online guides how I fix this. And so like there is no spare parts anymore for the Steam controller, so you need a 3D printer. And I was like, wait a second, if I can 3D print part of the controller, do you know what will be like a nice hobby project? Building like a whole controller. And then by then there was some like a lot of Arduinos, a lot of Raspberry Pis, like, or the Pico that it was about released about that time. And I started doing like a breadboard prototype. Then I started doing like a full controller with the 3D printer. It was surprisingly plug and play. I didn't have any previous experience with 3D printers. And then when I was done and I had my controller, I was thinking, okay, so now what? I'm happy with this for myself, but can someone benefit from this? And I was talking with my partner in Input Labs, Michael, that we were ex-colleagues in several companies. And it's like, well, we can make it open source, but maybe we can make it some twist, right? Like who is going to benefit from some open source controller? Like people can just buy normal controllers, like PlayStation controllers, Xbox controllers. Like, so let's look how we can make it better for people with disabilities and focus more in the accessibility aspect. And that's what we did basically. And we noticed that the accessibility market is very fragmented. There is a lot, like there is some things for like super generic and for more like more severe disabilities, like the Xbox like box that you connect the cables, right? And now you have the similar device with PlayStation. But we wanted to do something that was more in between for people maybe with not so severe disabilities. And it's like, like if you 3D print the part, like we release all the models, all the 3D parts, and people can tweak them. And then we were thinking, okay, so how we start like some kind of project about this? Like, can we do this full time instead of just a hobby project? And then we thought,
you keep saying we. How many are there of you? I'm just curious. How many work at Input Labs?
Right now we are 4.
Okay.
So we are Michael, Maria, Stefan, and me.
Very cool. And when you made your original design that was just for you, how similar is that design to what I ended up having in my hands, like 2 years later?
It was, it's quite similar because at the very end, I was already thinking like how people will think about this design. And like if it was for me, maybe it will have more buttons and more like 4 back paddles and like extra bumpers and things like that the pro gamers like. And I was thinking, yeah, but that's maybe too much. It's going to we don't want to make like a kitchen sink kind of controller with everything. Right. And then we were thinking, okay, what if to communicate this message that is more like a mouse, we put the scroll wheel in the center, like where the second thumbstick should be, and that's like. It not only makes sense for FPS, but it's also a little bit for the shock value. Because if you see on the internet a controller that is just a controller with 2 thumbsticks, it's like, so what? But if you see this controller in a thumbnail, you're like, what the hell? Like, why that controller has a scroll wheel? Why that controller has only 1 thumbstick? And then the low poly, that's kind of the same thing. Like people in the beginning were asking, oh, so 3D printers have this limitation that you cannot do like a more rounded shape? And it's like, no, not really. Like we could have done that.
Yeah, so if you look at this design, it's got all these angles on it. And that's the first thing that I thought too is, oh, that's probably a limitation of 3D printing or something. But that's an artistic choice that you guys made because you like it that way.
It was a little bit also for making something different, like a controller that looks very different. And that I should have prepared better. I shared with the community, I will share with you later, like post-its that I have, post-it notes with some drafts that I have. and the design was
nice.
already kind of like low poly and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, kind of like I was thinking maybe more in these stealth fighters yet or something like this.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
when I look at it, I kind of think it looks like it was rendered on a Nintendo 64 because it's got all those triangles all over the place. It's very cool.
Little bit like low poly aesthetic. Yeah, and maybe I'm going too forward now, but that's something that unfortunately and based on feedback we are doing differently in the Alpakka 2.
Yeah, and so the Alpakka 2, like this is the first one that you guys sent me, and then you sent me another one later that is like the what was the difference between these two other than you got a second joystick on here next to the scroll wheel, and then what else? It's
also wireless.
Oh, that's right. Yes, wireless,
and it's also USB-C.
That's right. Yeah, that was like my biggest gripe with the blue one that I have here is that it was micro USB, which I understand why you did it. It's you're making prototypes and stuff, and you don't want to waste money on better inputs in order to when you're spitballing things. So that takes us to before we get to the Alpakka 2, one of the things that I like as somebody who really liked the Steam controller, one of the things that I really liked was the fact that this has gyro, but not just one gyro, but 2 gyros. Can you take just a second to talk about why you have 2 gyros instead of just one in the original version of the Alpakka?
Yeah, so this is something that I noticed very early, even before having a 3D printer as well with the breadboard prototypes. Like one gyro, I tried a lot of gyros, and it's like none of them were very good, even the best ones. And they were very noisy. They had other kind of trade-offs. And I was thinking, okay, why not having 2 of them? I was thinking about the idea. I wrote a paper that is published somewhere about like, what if you have more than 2? What kind of problems you are solving by having more than one gyro? Because there is a lot of research about having sensor fusion, like maybe with different kind of sensors, right? Like the usual example is like you have some kind of inertial sensor, gyro accelerometer, and then maybe you have GPS, and you are complementing each other. But they were not anything like about having 2 of the same, having 4 of the same. Because the usual understanding is like, if they are the same, then you have 2 of the same, you don't really win anything.
So but what is the advantage that you get with going with 2? So
there are 3 areas of improvements. And the most obvious one and easy to explain is noise. You have much less noise. Like it's much more stable. So the cursor is not flickering so much. Then other benefits. There is the drift. So you have, by definition, a little bit of drift that is not always in the same place. It's hard to explain. So if you calibrate a gyro, the center of calibration will be kind of like moving. It's called a random walk. So it's kind of moving around a little bit, always around the center, but always moving a little bit. So if you have 2 of them, if you have more, they are going to neglect each other. They are going to, more often than not, they are going to be pointing in different opposing directions. Mm-hmm. But then the third area of improvement is that you can use different scales. So you can, if you only have one gyro, gyros work so you have to define the maximum range of operation. And then if you go out of this range, you saturate and you are kind of like it's like hitting a wall. Mm-hmm. But if you have it too big, you're incrementing the noise, you're multiplying the noise.
Oh, I see. So I think I can give an analog that people might understand really well. When I record a video, sometimes I use 2 microphones. I use one microphone that is like my regular volume, and then I use a second microphone that I turn down about 10 decibels, and that's like a backup in case for some reason I peak, meaning mm-hmm. I say something that's too loud for this microphone, then I can switch over to the other microphone. Is that the same basic idea?
It's kind of the same, exactly. So
Okay.
in this case, we have a gyro like for small movements. I mean, this is a simplification because it's not either or, but for the simplification, one of the gyro is configured at 125 degrees per second maximum, and the other is 500, so 4 times more. And the one that is 500 is for faster flicks. But when you are moving the cursor just like a few pixels, again a simplification, but you are using mostly the gyro that is configured for the small scale. And that's a benefit for like 2 gyros. If we were talking about more gyros, then you have even more benefits because you can sacrifice 1 gyro for the large movements that you don't care so much about the noise and about the drift in the large movement. And then, for example, with Alpakka 2, we are going to do like quad gyro. And that means we use 1 gyro for the flicks, for the fast movements. And then we use 3 gyros for the very stable, precise movements. So when people is asking us like, what is the benefit of quad gyro in this case? It's like, it's going to be the benefit just a little bit, just a little bit better. Are we going into the territory of like, what is the name? When you don't get so many wins anymore.
No, I know exactly what you mean, and I can't think of the phrase.
Diminishing returns.
Yes, diminishing returns.
Diminishing returns.
If we didn't think of it, somebody would have told us in the comments. Yes, diminishing returns is exactly right. Yeah. So is 4 like where you start to see the diminishing returns, and you're like, don't go past that?
I think with 4, we are going to be able to do more things as we originally defined them in the paper, in the original paper. So there is still a lot of room for improvement in 4 gyros. So
the solution is to go with multiple gyros to solve that problem.
Exactly.
And I have to say, having used gyro to play games a million times, the Alpakka controller has the best gyro control of any controller that I've used. And I'm talking the DualSense Edge, which is a $200 controller. This one beats it when it comes to very precise movements and being able to hit your targets really, really well. So from the original Alpakka controller to the, 1.5, I guess, with this one, the main difference is you have a second stick now, and, it's wireless and USB-C, and mine is engraved because you guys are awesome. And then now we're going to move on to the Alpakka 2. The Alpakka 2 has 4 gyros, but it also has the 2 sticks are identical now. So now you have 2 sticks instead of just the 1 stick or the hat switch that you had before. What led you to that? Was that just based on user feedback?
Yes. So from the Alpakka 0, that we could call it, to the Alpakka 1, the main feedback was wireless. People wanted wireless because, of course, one of the use cases that you can play in the sofa, right, with the accuracy of a mouse. And then USB-C, and then a little, like, some way to use the second thumbstick in case you are using, like, you need a fallback for some games, like twin stick shooters, maybe emulators, things like that, right? So we did that. But yeah, so that's possibly a very good solution, like the Alpakka 1, for hardcore gyro gamers. But if we want to convince more people that gyro is something that is worth investing and something that is cool, there is like something that we identified is some people is on the fence. Some people doesn't really want to jump into the pool, and there is this psychological aspect of like, what if I don't like the gyro? What if gyro is not for me? Like, what if I want to play X game that I need the 2 thumbsticks? And that was one of the reasons for going for a more standard layout. So people is not so afraid. So it's not so alien.
Yeah. And with this more standard layout, I can just plug it in and it can pretend to be like a regular ass controller, right? Like it doesn't.
Exactly.
It's not going to be like pressing keyboard buttons. It's literally ABXY, right?
Yes. Yeah. So like in the controller, it's going to be the same thing that now with the current model. Like you have several profiles, and one of the built-in profiles is a console legacy. And that's exactly map 1-to-1 to like a normal controller.
Does that also have access to the gyros in that mode?
There is two of them. There is console that has access to gyros, and there is console legacy, which is like without gyros 1-to-1 normal controller, more like an Xbox controller. There is a lot of people in our community asking like if we could emulate other protocols like PlayStation controller or like a Switch controller, and that way we have native gyro, and that way the games can use native gyro instead of using mouse. That's something that we might do in the future.
The reason why people would want that, and I'm not saying this to you, Marcos, I'm saying this to the audience. The reason why people might want that, correct me if I'm wrong, is because when you play a game and you're using a controller and you're using a mouse at the same time, quite often the game will get confused and it'll be like, are you using a controller or are you using a mouse? You can't do both at the same time, and it will constantly change the prompts that are on screen from like press F to press X, and it'll keep flipping back and forth depending on what the last thing that you used. Is that the problem you're trying to solve there?
Exactly. So there are some games that have better mixed input support than others. That's how the community call it. And then you have this kind of UI flickering, which is exactly what you described. Like the game is like, oh no, mouse, oh no, gamepad, or keyboard, gamepad. And some games are fine with it, some games are not. I think this is getting better. I think the developers are getting more aware about this.
Yeah.
And like they realize that there is no point of doing like a very defined split between consoles and PC. It kind of makes sense for some games, maybe competitive games. You want to be sure that if someone is using a controller and they have access to like aim assist, you don't mix that with the mouse. So a lot of games, the moment you use mouse or the moment you use native gyro, they disable the aim assist.
Well, my next question is another feature that these have is they have completely digital triggers. Like these are digital triggers, obviously, because it's supposed to be behaving like a mouse, and a mouse is either on or off. You don't have analog mice. Maybe somebody out there made one, but I don't know why you would. Is the Alpakka 2 still have digital triggers, or does it have analog triggers, or do you use trigger stops to allow you to have both?
So that's another aspect that we got a lot of feedback from the community, and it's exactly that. Like the original design is made for mostly FPS, so you want to have something like is most like. It's like not just very short travel, but also very clicky and have this clicky feeling of a mouse. But then if you are playing car games, maybe you want to have the analog triggers. And this controller is actually very good for playing like simulators, because you have the kind of the thing that people has been trying to do with other controllers, but doesn't really work very well. But with this one, it's actually working very nicely. But then you don't have the gas and brake. You will need to use the thumbstick. So it's like, okay, why not having both? So one solution will be using trigger stops. Problem with trigger stops, you will have the short travel, but you don't really have the click.
Right.
And if you have dual triggers like the original Steam controller, you have the click at the very end of the travel, which is not what you want. So this is something that we will investigate during the development of the Alpakka 2 that we are about to start, but we most likely go for a system in which you can swap the triggers. So
like you could take them out and put a different trigger system in?
Exactly. So it will be like, just in mind that you have the kind of the clicky super soul travel, like real digital hair trigger trigger, and then you will just take this bolt, take the trigger out, and it will come with another pair of triggers which have the little spring and the magnet, and then you swap those in, and then you have analog. With injection mold, we are going to have two versions, by the way. With the Alpakka 2, we are going to have the do-it-yourself version, which is the same thing that we have with the Alpakka 1, which is you can 3D print it, you can modify it, you can play with it, you can do whatever your heart desires. And we will have the Alpakka 2 Pro that you just buy, like a normal controller. And that version is going to be injection molded. So with injection molding, you can do much more intricate designs. But we want to have feature parity between the do-it-yourself and the Pro. So we don't want to make something that is impossible to 3D print. And I'm afraid that if we go with some super complicated trigger stopper that is not just a stopper, but is actually like hair trigger, I'm not sure we can achieve that with 3D printing. We might try, but yeah, that's some of the aspect that we are talking with the community, and we will see how we do it. It's the same thing for other aspects of the controller. That the community is still asking, like, what are you going to do with the, like, can we have like an extra couple of bumpers? Can we, what is going to be the final arrangement of the back buttons? And it's like, we are still discussing, we are still that, like, we can change that mid-development. And yeah, and the same thing with the other aspect that we are not yet, it's not that we are not decided. It's like it's complicated. For example, like one of the top requests from the community is like Hall effect or TMR thumbsticks, right? And it's complicated because we will love to say, yeah, sure, like why not? Like we will have it, but there are not many suppliers.
Like, right, and they're all getting bought up by other companies that they're building controllers.
And like there are suppliers for customers. So like if you want to replace your PlayStation or Xbox thumbsticks, like you can possibly go to AliExpress or Temu or one of those and kind of buy. But that's not a supplier that like a product can use, like a company to company, business to business can use. Yeah. So there are a couple of suppliers, but yeah, I don't think they are like working like exclusively with any company. But of course we are a small company, so we are possibly not like a big priority for them. So we are still like trying to get this right, and we are still trying to find a supply.
The next thing that I wonder about is on the original and on the second one that you sent, it has a single scroll wheel. Okay.
Yep.
The Alpakka 2 has 2 scroll wheels. Very interesting choice. Why do you have 2 scroll wheels, and how do the games know which scroll wheel is which? Because most games would just see a mouse scroll wheel as a mouse scroll wheel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so the scroll wheel, I mean, in the Alpakka one is completely like remappable. So you can use it as anything that is not a scroll wheel. I mean, a scroll wheel is just 2 buttons that is mouse scroll up and mouse scroll down. You can assign it to anything, and in FPS is maybe not so important. So so different things. In FPS, you may want to. I'm going to need the controller. So while you have the thumb in here with this like touch sensing part that is the gyro enable, like you may have to move the finger away. So in some cases, you may want to use the other finger to do use the other scroll wheel, and maybe you are more comfortable to use the left scroll wheel as the actual scroll wheel instead of the right one, depending on what you are doing. FPS browsing is very useful for like inventory scrolling. Is very useful for zoom in and zoom out in maps. Is very useful for zoom in and zoom out in like sniper scopes or any kind of a scope. So then you will have the choice. Do I want to use the right one or do I want to use the left one? And that's for FPS. But for other genres, like simulators, car simulators, plane simulators, just think flight simulator or just think elite dangerous kind of space simulators. The more axes you have, the better. And ultimately, a scroll wheel is an axis that you can use, and it's like it's a really nice axis because it's not virtual. Because you can have like in a touchpad, you can have kind of emulating a scroll wheel. You can have it emulated buttons, but the buttons are not physical buttons. The scroll is not physical scroll, or you can do different things, right? But it's very nice, and actually is one of the most loved features of the Alpakka One, like the scroll wheel. Like,
yeah, I love the scroll wheel.
Like, people don't realize how useful it is and how nice it is to have a physical, real thing, not just like a virtualized, emulated stuff.
So yeah, it's really great for like weapon selection. You just go and like your little wheel pops up and you see all the stuff. It's very cool to switch between weapons using that.
Yeah, or like in Minecraft, like between the objects and things like that.
And then the last feature that I wanted to ask about is it has a little screen on the front, which is so good because previously it's not on, so you guys won't be able to see it who are watching, but you can see like these 4 little holes. Underneath that are lights, and based on the combination of lights that you could see, you would know which profile you were using. Like, am I using a racing profile, or am I using a first-person shooter profile, or whatever? Now you have that replaced with a little screen, and so I never have to go back to your website and look up what the lights mean because I could never remember them.
Yeah, exactly. So we put this for less arrangement, which is kind of common in controllers, maybe not in the new ones, like maybe not in the PlayStation 1 that has the touch there. But and then we thought, like, we don't have player 1, player 2, player 3, so we are going to use that for communicating to the user which profile is the active profile. And we have 12, right? It's like the directions, and then the directions with 3 dots, and then also like the kind of the diagonals. Mm-hmm. And that's fine, but then we realized that we have to communicate to the user many other things. And there's like,
oh, right.
We have low battery, we have like connecting, like pairing the wireless. We have many other things. So like there is any kind of problem when booting the controller, like especially important for people that is doing yourself and soldering the own stuff. And there is so many things to communicate. We have in the website, of course, the manual with all the possible patterns that you can have the LEDs on. And we were thinking, okay, this is clearly not enough what we can do. Can we use color lights? Can we use more lights? And it's like, at some point, it's like, why not using like a small screen? And there is another aspect, which is players that are not so familiar with the concept of a profile. So, or maybe they are not familiar with the built-in profiles. If the game is like, press F, and they are going to be, where is F?
Right, that's one of the reasons I love this controller. I don't use it very much because when the game tells me to press F, I don't remember where the hell it is.
Exactly. So after you are familiar with the profiles, it kind of becomes second nature. But maybe until that point, or if you are messing with your own profiles, editing your own profiles, I think it makes sense to have a little screen that you can just look at it and it kind of tells you like immediately.
Oh, so it's going to tell you, I guess I didn't zoom in close enough on this. It tells you what each button is on the screen. That is brilliant. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm so excited about that. That is very cool.
Yeah, there is a zoom in our website or in the Indiegogo page. One of the images is kind of zoom in on the screen, and we already figured out how to put all the controllers in the small screen.
Very cool. So what's your timeline? Like, you guys have been your Indiegogo, when did that go up?
Now it's the pre-campaign of the Indiegogo, so it's kind of technically not up, but it went up last week. So 1st of December.
And so when does it actually like start? So then I'll put it in then.
So we don't want to put it up on Christmas, right? It's possible the worst time for like some kind of crowdfunding campaign. So we are going to put it up, start the actual campaign after Christmas.
Okay.
So maybe January, like late January, something like this.
And based on what you've said so far, it seems like you're juggling a lot of stuff right now. How long from when that campaign launches officially do you think that people would actually be able to get these in hands?
It will take about the whole rest of the year, possibly.
Okay.
So we will try to aim for the next Christmas.
Very cool.
And of course, we have a lot of work done already. So we have the firmware. We will have to improve it a little bit, support the quad gyro. Like the electronics, it will be like an iteration of the current electronics that we have. The 3D printed part, it will be possibly an evolution of what we have. But the injection molding, like that's where we will invest a lot of time and most of the money. Because, of course, designing and making those molds is quite expensive.
And if people are interested in the Alpakka controller or the Alpakka 2 controller, where can they go in order to find out more about what your project?
They can go to inputlabs.io. There's like the two controllers and the little other device that we are doing. There is info about the company. There is info about us. We have Input Labs YouTube channel in which people can watch gameplay videos. And now we have the Indiegogo campaign. So you can possibly search Alpakka on Indiegogo. But everything is linked together, right? So you can go to our website and you will find links to everything there.
And if you, in the description down below on this video, you'll see a link that will take you straight to their stuff. And if you click on the subscribe button on this video, both my little channel will pop up, but so will the Alpakka Labs channel. It'll pop up, and then you can subscribe to their channel directly through that subscribe button. Marcos, thank you so much for sitting down to talk to me about your project. I'm really excited about what you guys have to do. And everybody, make sure you go check out their stuff. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, and we are back, and it's time to talk about Arcade 1-Up. I saw this posted in my Discord, and basically it looks like Arcade 1-Up might be shutting down. This was posted over on Reddit and apparently Twitter, but basically there's an email, and it says, Beta Team, I come to you with news I wish I didn't have to share. Arcade 1-Up is closing operations for the majority of us. Our last day is this coming Friday. I cannot speak on the future of the brand. It's not my place to share what might be next and whom will be in charge of it. I don't know the plans for arcade systems or their infinity tables. I believe they will continue to operate as they currently do, but I do not know that for certain. Now, before we go any further, there was also somebody had pointed out that a while ago there was like people were worried, like, what does this mean for the online matchmaking? Because I guess you can play them online. I did not know that these connected to the internet and you could play other people online. I guess what they've done is when they made these like 2 years ago, they built in a fallback code. This is from Code Mystics. We built a fallback code into our Gemini Online code from the start that will allow online multiplayer without a server. Machines that use Gemini, NBA Jam, Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, X-Men, and NFL Blitz will be able to play online even if servers are sunset. And I have to say, that is freaking cool as hell. Like, thumbs up to them. But I don't have an arcade 1-Up. I have an actual arcade, and I modified it to play a bunch of ROMs and stuff, but I don't have an arcade 1-Up. But I can see one right behind you, Russ. Russ, what are your thoughts on this, too?
Yeah. Well, so I bought both of mine like 2022, I think. It's been a while. And I also bought like all the parts from like third-party websites to upgrade the buttons, to change out the CPU inside and put in a mini PC and stuff, like to get all that working, HDMI functioning and stuff. And I never did it. Like, it's basically around the same time that I went full time with the channel, and like it's just been full on videos. And I know that's like a 3-day project, and I don't have time for 3 days off. Come on now. And so I've never gotten around to it. I was planning on doing a video and everything. the thing about Arcade 1-Up is like, sure, it's cheap materials. It's not the same. Like they're smaller. They're, they just don't have the same level of quality and attention to detail as getting like a nice arcade cabinet like you have, Bill. But I think it is worth celebrating the fact that people can go into Walmart or could go into Walmart and buy one of these things, right? And fulfill their childhood dreams, even if the screen isn't perfectly integer scaled and it's not a CRT and all the other things that kind of come from that, doesn't have Sanwa switches and all that stuff. I'm okay with all that stuff. I think that bringing joy to people, even if it's only 75% of the way there, is still something really cool. And it is pretty awesome for us, as 80s and 90s kids to be able to have that stuff in our homes. I know there's people who have like 10 of these things like in their basement, and it's like a dream come true for them. And I think that's pretty awesome, and same thing with these. Like yes, I haven't done the upgrades, but I've got all the stuff and I'm going to do it at some point. It's not like they're going to expire. And so, and the first thing when I ever have anyone in this studio, first thing they do is they're like, oh, can I play this? Like they just immediately want to play Marvel vs. Capcom, which I think is pretty cool. It's not the best experience in the world, but it's still, it's magic enough, I think. And that's pretty cool.
Rich, are you interested at all in arcade machines?
I am. I think for the reasons that Russ alluded to, I was never very interested in Arcade 1-Up as a product. I think everything Russ said is on point, and I would want to leave it at that. But like for myself, what I would have done is probably something closer to what you have, Bill, where you're using NerdNest or RetroDeck or some sort of launcher like Play Night or Launchbox, and using that with kind of some high quality arcade guts is probably something more along the lines of what I would have wanted to do. But that doesn't take away anything from what Russ said. I think it's that ability to just go to a Walmart, pick one up relatively cheap and bring that home. Like, yeah, nothing beats that.
Yeah. Mine was go ahead, Russ.
I was going to say that, at the time that I bought mine, I was living with my wife's parents. We now have our own place. But at the time we were living with my wife's parents, I didn't have any wood shop like tools or a garage to do anything in. And so like that's like the easiest solution was to spend, and I got them on sale. So it was like $300 for each of them, so it's Marvel versus Capcom and a bunch of other Street Fighter games, and then the Ridge Racer. So my plan is to have one that's like a 6-button arcade cabinet for all those type of games, like anything I want to play there, throw on Ninja Turtles, all that stuff. And then all my racing games on the other one. And so that was kind of the plan for those all along. And I think it's a great solution in terms of just, it's halfway there. It's cheap wood, and I'm dreading the idea that I got to take these apart to fix, to put the stuff inside because it's like IKEA furniture, But at the same time, there's just a little bit of fun in that, and I think for me that was definitely worth that amount of money.
Yeah. So you talk about like the cheap wood. So mine is an actual arcade cabinet from 1980. Like it's an Asteroids Deluxe arcade cabinet. I got it for $60. Which is ridiculous because my wife's family had an arcade business back in the 80s, and they had just all this shit just sitting in warehouses, right? And so I was talking to them at a wedding, and I was like, oh yeah, I would love to have an arcade. And they were like, oh, we have arcades. And I said, oh, well, how much for one? He goes, well, he thought about it for a while, and he goes, I think that if I sold the parts for this, I could get $60. So I'll just sell it to you for $60. I was like, okay, cool. So, cause it didn't work. Like it was busted. So they dropped it off, put it in the garage, and it's made out of particle board. It's not made out of high quality materials. Like the arcade games from our youth, they were made out of shitty materials, and like the bottom of it is all a little bit of rotted a little bit. And so I had to replace all the T molding had to be replaced in it. And this also, I don't know if you've ever played Asteroids Deluxe. There's no joystick in Asteroids Deluxe. There's it only has like 2 buttons or whatever. So I had to yank that out, and everybody's going to get mad at me for destroying an old cabinet. This thing was a piece of crap. So it was not going to be restored. And I didn't have the ability to restore it. This guy was going to sell it for parts anyway. So you can yell at me in the comments if you want, but I'm not reading them. I ended up like yanking all of that, the main console out. And then I went over to my dad's house and I made a console out of buttons or out of like plywood. And I bought buttons off Amazon, and I threw a Raspberry Pi in there. And I've had endless entertainment with it. After a while, I replaced the Raspberry Pi with a Steam Deck, and then I replaced the Steam Deck with an ROG Ally, and now I'm thinking I'm going to throw like something else in there that can run Street Fighter 6 at very good resolutions and frame rates, and also play all my arcade games on there. It's awesome to have, but it's been a ton of work to maintain. And the number of times where I've gone over to it to go and play a game and the buttons don't work the way that they're supposed to, and then I have to reconfigure something, and I don't know why that happens. That number is not 0. And I bet every time Russ walks over to his arcade 1-up, it freaking works. Am I right, Russ?
Yeah. What kind of screen do you have in your cabinet? Like, you have the original screen?
So the original screen's down in my basement, and I bought like a crappy LCD 1080p screen, and then I had to like build a mount to put it in there because I wanted HDMI, because that makes it easy to hook things up with. You know what I mean? So that's what I have in there. And then in the like behind the marquee, I literally have a pair of really old PC speakers that are just shoved in there, and then the wire goes down and plugs in. But when you put a quarter in it, I'm using quotes because there's no quarters, but when you put a quarter in it and you play a game, you're like, you don't know any of that. It just plays like a regular thing, and it's really cool.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, that's it for Arcade 1-Up, but we got a bunch of other stuff to talk about. Russ, you want to pick a story to chat about? Just not the one about Dranik and Friends, because we already hit that one.
Yeah, let's talk about NitroDeck 2. So Cracked came out with their new announcement here. I just recently learned that this thing is called Cracked, like the company. I thought it was like CRKD.
I was going to say, I had no idea. You just blew my mind.
If you guys rewind, you're going to hear me gasp when he says cracked, and I go, oh, that's how you say it?
So I was in a call with Siri from Mechanism, right? We were talking about some of the things he was working on and stuff. And he mentioned, he's like, no, we don't want to directly compete with Cracked. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I hadn't even heard of those guys, right? And as we further got in the conversation, I was like, oh man, he's talking about CRKD. I had no idea. But anyway, so they announced their NitroDeck. And I had the first one. I really didn't like it. But then I got their Guitar Hero guitar that came out, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. It is really good. And so like my faith is kind of back in, like, I'm all right. Maybe they do make good stuff, And so very interesting. It snaps into the Nintendo Switch 2. It also works with the Switch 1 with like this little holster thing. I don't know. Looks like the buttons and it's got big analog sticks, which is like my number one complaint about the Joy-Cons in the first place. So I feel like it could be an upgrade in terms of controls, but it's got like a forced kickstand on the back of it, and it's also not dockable. And so I would have rather just gotten just 2 grips, just slap those on. You know what I mean? Like I would have preferred that. Because as it stands, most of the time we play in docked mode anyway. I just pull it up and play every once in a while. And so I don't want to have to put on an entire controller setup just to play in handheld mode.
I think that's fair. I did really enjoy the original NitroDeck. And so even though this is really pricey at $100, I immediately placed my order for one. I can't really play the Switch 2 handheld. And I couldn't really play the Switch 1 handheld anymore, unless I was playing in the NitroDeck. So this, if it's as good in terms of ergonomics as the NitroDeck 1, then it's going to make the Switch 2 playable in handheld mode for me, which is, what I need. And it has that like little dongle thing for wired, so it's a little like hacky compared to the original, which is kind of saying a lot, but I'm still pretty excited.
There was I can't remember what the company was. There's another company. I made a video about it. They were just Joy-Cons that went on the side of your Nintendo Switch, which is what Russ is talking about. You just put them on the side and you were done. and they made the Switch comfortable. And that was much more interesting to me than NitroDeck. But the NitroDeck, like, I remember when it came out very late in the Switch One's life cycle, when Rich got one and he was talking about it, I was like, okay, that sounds really good. This one, not the NitroDeck, has swappable D-pad. So you can easily swap your D-pad. You can swap the sticks and stuff. And like they show that you have options for what sticks you're going to have. It's got 4 buttons on the back, so you can program those to be your ABXYs if you want, like Rich usually does on the Steam Deck. I think that it sounds awesome, but you're right. It seems super hacky. Like it's not an elegant solution.
No, another kind of inelegant piece is the telescopic portion, right? And it's elegant in that it is compatible with Switch 1, Switch 2, and probably various Switch 1 configurations, hopefully. But it also feels like, oh, why not just get a telescopic controller that, that already exists and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see. But yeah, it's like you said, inelegant.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Rich, you want to grab a story from the topics and we'll chat about it?
Let's go with AI in video games. So this was Sega kind of trying to toe the line, sit on the fence a little bit, right? So they broached the subject of AI in their latest earnings report, as reported by Eurogamer, and they said that they acknowledge strong resistance to AI adoption, but also that they feel that it can streamline the development process. I think it's interesting to there are so many ways that AI. And when we're talking about AI in this context, we're talking about Gen AI using LLMs, right? And so in this context, there are so many applications, and we've seen it used for quote unquote placeholder art. But it's also used for software development. It can be used for concept art. And so this is one of those things where various people are going to have very various opinions, which is why the Steam disclaimer or Steam kind of disclosure is what I'm looking for, is really helpful, so that like wherever you stand, you can see what the developer has disclosed and be like, oh, that I don't like that. I don't mind this, but I don't like that. Right. The other reason I wanted to pick on this is because there have been recent instances of various software developers, even some that I find to be surprising, championing AI in coding. So I wouldn't say Linus Torvalds championed it in his interview with Linus Tech Tips, but he was not negative about it, which is something that was surprising to me. Gabe Newell has effectively championed it, and not just for programming, but like he said, if you want to be an accountant, you should learn AI. If you want to be an attorney, you should learn AI. If you're going to be a programmer, you should learn AI. So he was a lot more bullish about it, and John Carmack has been bullish about it too. So it's interesting to see those perspectives as well.
Yeah. Russ, do you have any feelings on it?
Yeah, I had a myriad of feelings as Rich was talking, but like, for me, it's all like, I think, using AI as a tool, I think it's all good. Like, I've got no issue with any of that kind of stuff, but it all comes down to where we're headed as like humankind, right? And I'm just so worried about like artists losing their job, and then guys who know how to write prompts getting those jobs. And to me, that feels like, just holistically, it makes me a little sad. You know what I mean? I'm like, the true mind of an artist, like I've worked with artists before. I'm not a visual artist, but, I love giving them an idea. Like Tech for example, he just redid all my shirts, right? I just gave him a couple ideas, and what he came up with was so far from what I was expecting, and in new and interesting directions, that it just was so inspiring that we like came up with other stuff and like kind of really refined it. And I worry that AI, which is essentially not creating new things, but rather just scrubbing that which has already been made, from an artistic perspective, isn't going to have that same spark to it like I had with that conversation with TechDweeb. So I'm not saying saying that Sega shouldn't do AI or any of that kind of stuff, but it just makes me worried about, 30 years from now, like the joke I made a couple weeks ago. My kids, are miners because they're like working in mines to get cobalt or whatever is required to get these AI servers running, as opposed to being artists. And so that's always my thought, I think, when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. I find it really hard to say anything nice about AI. I understand that it's a tool, and every tool has its use, but it's a really expensive tool, whether you use it or not. Like, I know that my electricity costs, they're going to go up because the AI data centers are going in next to the nuclear power plants. There's like 2 nuclear power plants near me. And when they go in, that means that they're going to be using electricity that otherwise I might be using. And so the supply is now less and the demand is now more. And that means the way supply and demand works is when the supply goes down or the demand goes up, the price goes up. And so that means I'm going to have to pay for that. And that's the same thing with those RAM chips. They're getting more expensive because supply and demand.
And maybe not the story for the RAM chips, but certainly the story for the energy use is that those companies get the subsidies, they get the breaks, right? And
right.
so
Not
all
me.
of that, right? Exactly. All of those costs get put on the consumer, the average consumer. So 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say the one time that AI was like really helpful when we were all part of this, but basically I had done a giveaway and I had like 6,000 entries for this handheld. And the question was, what's your favorite snack and drink, right? And I'm not going through 6,000 entries, but we used AI, like Rich had an AI, I used an AI, and we kind of cobbled them together. And we got all those results in a matter of minutes. And it was very insightful and helpful. Like that's what AI should be doing, is removing that workload, And so that kind of stuff, if the developers are doing something on a similar basis, where instead of having to go through and handpick every little piece of code and change something because the manager wanted something done, that they can just have AI do it, and AI is at a point where it does it well, then that's a total win, right? It's more the artistic expression thing that really worries me.
Yeah, and it's interesting from when we say developer, we have to sort of distinguish, right? So like, if an artist is considered a game developer, certainly, but when we're talking about coding, this like sentiment of stealing from other creators doesn't seem to exist amongst coders, right? Like,
right.
There are exceptions to what I'm saying, but for the most part, it doesn't exist, right? Because if someone else has built code that I can reuse, and they've done it and it works well. So like, for example, the famous example is like Quake 3 code probably still exists in a lot of modern engines, right? Just because of how good that code was. And so that sentiment is not quite as there. And to your point, it's probably because it's not as artistic, right? Like there is some artfulness to it, but it's not what TechDweeb is doing when it comes to like creating a new idea out of thin air, essentially. And yeah, I don't see AI replacing that in any way.
As I'm not an artist or a coder or any of that, I don't feel qualified to talk about that, but I totally get what you're saying. It gives me the ick. Every time I hear about AI doing something that's generative AI, it gives me the ick. That's how I feel about it.
That's fair.
All right. Before we talk about the games that we've been playing, I know that Russ, you have a hard out in about 3 minutes. So you want to really quickly tell us about the games that you've been playing, and then you can bow out?
Yeah. So I played and finished 2 games this week. Very proud of myself. I finished Sea of Stars. So I don't know what really got me on it. I think I was just kind of playing it, and I just decided I'm going to finish this thing. I'm like close to end game. I made a video where I was talking about it. Oh, that's right, because I went to a trip to New York, and I was like, I'm going to finish this game on this trip, And I got so far until the point where I was like, you know what? Now I want to finish it on a TV instead of a 6-inch handheld. And so I ended up putting it on the big TV and just playing it in 4K. And I didn't even realize it upscaled to 4K. I mean, it's still all sprites, but still it looked beautiful. So I finished the game. There's like an alternative ending where you got to like go and do side quests, kind of Chrono Trigger-esque, I didn't get that. And there's also DLC. So there's a lot more game to play, but I finished at least the main storyline. It was great. I really enjoyed it. It took me 27 hours altogether. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's my overall time with it. And then I was like, you know what? why am I not just beating other games? And so I was like, Shredder's Revenge, you're next. And it was like, I've had that game for years, right? And that's always playing the first 5 levels or whatever. And I was like, let's just sit down and do it. Every level only takes about 8 minutes. And so yeah, I sat down and finished that in one sitting. Really enjoyed that too. I got to go back and really savor some of those levels, because I was really kind of blitzing near the end of it. But that's the great thing about that game is that you can kind of go back, and it unlocks Casey Jones when you finish the main storyline, which is awesome too. So yeah, those are my 2 games. I basically hunkered down and actually finished a game as opposed to doing all the random testing I always do.
Casey Jones is awesome in that game.
My favorite thing about Shredder's Revenge Endgame is the Wu-Tang song that comes out of nowhere. It's like Raekwon and Ghostface as like Bebop and Rocksteady or something. Like, what? Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Russ, before you head out, tell everybody what you're working on next and where they can go find it.
So I just released my favorite handhelds of 2025. It took me like several days of filming all the footage and stuff, so I hope people appreciate the additional production value I added to that one. I always try to do that every year. And then I don't know what I'm working on next. I've got the 5090 XG Mobile, which is the one that Carrie just reviewed this past week. It's like the Asus external GPU that you can plug into like the Xbox and stuff. But I just heard they're going to send me also the 5070 Ti for testing.
You mean the Xbox Ally, right?
Yeah. What did I say?
Oh, okay. Well, you said plug it into your Xbox, and I was like, wait, what? Okay.
Yeah, Xbox.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, they're also sending me the 5070 Ti, so I'm gonna like do a comparison because I think that one's the best bang for your buck. The other one's like $2,500, ridiculous. And so I'm pausing on that one since I'm waiting for that new part, and now I have no idea what I'm gonna work on next. So who knows? We'll see in a couple days.
I think you should spend 3 days upgrading your arcade 1-up.
Nice.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I got to run. So thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Take it easy, Russ.
See ya.
Bye.
And then there were 2.
That's
it. That's it. Oh, are we done?
No. I mean, just the 2 of us.
That's right. Now, he brought up TMNT Shredder's Revenge. You've been playing another game that is very similar to that. What game is that?
I've been meaning. Oh, you're talking about. I thought you were talking about the other one. You're talking about Marvel Cosmic Invasion.
Yeah.
So this one, oh man, I had been waiting for this one for a while. It is, it looks like kind of the old school beat 'em ups like X-Men and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like we were just talking about, but it has the tag system. So it's a little bit Marvel versus Capcom meets X-Men, the arcade game. And it's just an amazing roster of characters with like modern characters too, like Rocket Raccoon, modern to the game universe, right? Rocket Raccoon. Of course you got Spider-Man, Wolverine, all of that stuff. And just being able to like combo and then get an assist or combo and then switch out to someone else. And so basically when you're playing multiplayer, if you have like 4 people playing, you can have like 8 characters on screen at once. So it just feels like a real like Marvel-ass Marvel game. And I love it. Yeah. Have you played it yet?
No, it's cheaper than a regular game, but it is kind of expensive for
price. Yeah, that makes it. I can't give a recommendation one way or the other because of the price. It's $30 right now. It's on sale. It probably won't be on sale by the time this airs, but it's probably on sale 10% off. So it comes down to $27, but the retail price is $30, and that is just a lot for these 2D beat 'em ups, especially when you have Shredder's Revenge available. The other game I wanted to talk about here is Neon Inferno. I think that one's like $20 and it's amazing.
It's really good.
It's so good. So like, yeah, it's just a tough sell at $30. Oh, and then Terminator 2D No Fate came out today, and that one's also $30. It just seems like these like big IP games are going to have these like premium price tags right now. And it's rough. It's rough. I don't know if I can.
I mean, do you remember when Nintendo raised the price? I mean, they're not the only ones that did it, but they were the first ones to do it. And they raised the price of a game to $80. So $80 for Mario Kart World. One of the first things that people kept saying, well, just don't buy Nintendo games. And I said, if you think that other companies aren't going to raise their prices because Nintendo got away with it, then you're crazy. And then they would say, well, then just don't play AAA games. Well, guess what? Now the indie games or the games that I guess I don't know if Marvel Comic Invasion is indie or not. I don't remember. I don't know who makes it. Is that Dotemu?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's indie. So like the indie games, they're going to get more expensive because the AAA games are more expensive. And like, that's exactly what's happening now. Is it for all of them? No, absolutely not. And that's why I haven't picked this one up yet. I mean, when you look at a game like TMNT Shredder's Revenge, that game is awesome. Like Russ, I beat it in one sitting. Like I beat it the day that I got it. It has a lot of replay value, and I had a lot of fun with it. I don't regret the time that I spent playing it, like I do regret something else that I bought recently. But yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. But Marvel Comic Invasion, I feel like what will happen is I'll get it and I'll play it for a little bit, but it has tons of replay value. But I know myself, I'm not going to go back to it. And for $30, I think I'm just going to wait. And the same with the 2D Terminator No Fate game. That game I was super excited for, but for $30, I'm not quite sure, especially because I just bought a game that it was expensive and didn't turn out all that well. And I just bought, what's the game that you made me buy?
Sektori.
I just bought Sektori, which is like, awesome.
Is it 20? I'm going to look it up real quick.
I think it was 15.
Yeah. So like
it's cheap.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a K curve. You're talking about like potentially indie games prices going up. And I think what you said is accurate. Some will definitely go up, and it seems to be ones that are tied to IP, right? And that kind of makes sense. These folks have to license.
They're going to pay for it.
Exactly. So like that cost has to go somewhere. But on the other side, there's a Game Discover Co. report, GameDiscoverCo.com. There's a report out from a couple weeks ago about how indie games are getting cheaper. They're getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So there's a bit of like a K curve happening. The more expensive games are getting more expensive. The cheaper games are getting cheaper. And so like, yeah, I can't really in good conscience always just recommend like games that are going to be 30 plus when you have something like Sektori out there that's $15. You have Neon Inferno that's $20. So it's rough.
Yeah. Let's talk about Neon Inferno for a minute, because we both played it.
Yeah.
I really like it. I don't see myself playing it too much more because I keep getting my ass kicked.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's a really hard game.
And I think they made it easier than the demo. So in the demo, I got the notion that it was going to be like permadeath, right? So like if you lose, you have to start from the very beginning, no matter what. Or at the very least, they didn't have a checkpoint at, you know how in the first level, there's like the run and gun, and then there's a second part to the first level that you're on a vehicle.
Yeah.
If you lose in that second part in the demo, you have to go back to the first part. And so like there was no checkpoint there. So by the time the full release came out, they put a checkpoint in there, which, you know, is a lot more friendly. It is a tough game. So this is by Zenovia Interactive, who developed Steel Assault, which is another like very nice 16-bit retro action sort of game. But Neon Inferno, I feel like, is even much tighter than Steel Assault. And this is run and gun. So it's, on two different planes. So it's Contra meets Wild Guns, if you're familiar with Wild Guns. So the Contra run and gun is pretty self-explanatory, but the Wild Guns is like kind of gallery shooter. So you can like shoot into the background as well. I like that mechanic. It kind of makes it interesting in terms of like where I place myself, because when I do that, I can't move, right? So I have to like get behind cover or kind of make it so that like I can shoot quickly and into the background. The controls are really tight. It's really responsive. And it is hard, but it's also short, right? So like when part of the appeal here is going to be just like perfecting everything to not get hit, get the best scores. I think the overall campaign is like 2 hours when you boil it down, but I'm sure you've already spent more than 2 hours. I know I have.
Probably. Yeah.
So
I'm sure that I have, and I died a bunch.
Exactly. But yeah, it's a lovely game.
Yeah. And I really like the art.
Yes.
Is my favorite part about it. Like, it is beautiful pixel art when you play it, you feel like it feels like a retro game, but it's a modern game. Yeah. And it's really good. I will say one thing that would make this infinitely better is the Steam controller, because you could use the trackpad, like, because I've been playing it on my TV. Oh. You could use the trackpad to aim in the background instead of using the joystick to aim in the background. Cool, yeah. I think that would be really cool. Or you could use gyro. I wonder if I could use gyro already.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good idea. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that's Neon Inferno. We've also both been playing Sektori, but we spent time last week talking about it, so I don't want to spend too much time.
Neither of us had played it last week. Yeah.
Oh, wait, I thought you had played it last week.
No, I had heard about it, and I bought it, and I was saying I'm gonna look forward to playing it during that weekend.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about it then, because we both played it now. I played it because you said that it's the greatest of all time, right? You said it's the GOAT.
I had heard it was the best dual stick shooter since like Geo Wars, and you know what? They were not wrong. The people were not wrong. Mm-hmm. So this is actually made by ex-Housemarque devs. So these are the folks that made some of these folks are the folks that maybe worked on Super Stardust HD, Nex Machina, and I don't know if these folks sticked around for Returnal or not, but that's the kind of pedigree we're talking about here. Excuse me. And so, yeah, it reminds me aesthetically of like Geometry Wars, but a lot of the level just shifts a lot, right? Like, so it may start out as a diamond, then it turns into a square, and then they're like shifting obstacles and stuff like that. And there's a lot of like upgrades throughout. So sort of like a roguelike deck builder mechanic. It doesn't feel like a roguelike deck builder, but it just has that sort of like pick and upgrade thing.
It feels more like Gradius. So if you've ever played Gradius back in the day, you shoot a wave of enemies and then they drop like the red thing. You fly and you pick up the red thing. And then it's like, okay, well, if you push the button right now, you're going to get this upgrade. But if you wait and get another red thing, well, then it moves from one upgrade to the next upgrade.
You know what? I forgot about that upgrade. I'm talking about the other upgrade. Yes, that is true. So like you can upgrade your shield or your strike or your blaster or your missile, and you can kind of like build around that. But there is also a deck system. So like you get
the cards.
Decks, yes, you get decks of I'm going to have a strike build or like I said, a missile build. And so like each time you pick a deck to sort of unwrap, now cards come out from that deck. So you can get, if you pick missile, you're going to start getting missile based cards. And you can kind of unwrap different decks and have that added to the traits that you pick.
Yeah, and it also has like some unbelievably good music, and the whole like level kind of like boom bounces to the music. Yes. Like it's just all comes together. It's got great game direction. It all comes together really, really well, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
And how about those bosses?
So I beat one boss. And that's as far as I've gotten, because I keep getting my ass kicked in this game. There's so much on the screen. You know what I mean? There's so much on the screen that you can't freaking see anything. It's overwhelming. Like when we told Russ about it, Russ said, I looked at the trailer and noped out immediately.
Yep.
But the boss that I fought was like this big robot or whatever. And then he has like weak points and you have to fly around him to get to those weak points. And then when you shoot that weak point, a piece breaks off and it reveals other weak points. And then after a while, like you get all the pieces of the boss are like spread throughout the level and you got to go between them to get to their weak points. It was tough. It was really tough. It's
real tough. It's definitely like a filtering point in the game where, you might not make it past the boss and that's going to end your run. But yeah, and each boss I encountered, I needed at least one try. I was going to die on the first try no matter what, just because I needed to see the pattern, which way they were going to go, what obstacles they were going to put in your way. You definitely have to lock in to kind of make your way through the matrix.
Yeah, I really do like that they have a little blue line that comes from your ship that points to that next upgrade. Yeah. I did not realize that until probably like the 4th run. And I was like, oh, there's a little thing that tells me there's an upgrade. And I didn't notice that before. And I wonder if like those first 3 runs, if I didn't, like there must have left a bunch of upgrades on the table that I never picked up.
Yeah, there's a ton of discoverability where like they tell you a lot to begin with, and it's kind of overwhelming, but even they leave a lot of stuff that they don't tell you. Like they tell you about chaining strikes together so you can strike.
I didn't understand it.
Yes. So once you understand it, your understanding of the game is going to explode. So like I'll tell you about it another time, but you have that's how you play the game. You have to chain strikes together, and that'll like just help you level up.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
The other game that I've been playing is Chrono Trigger DS on the AYN Thor, which is just, I cannot stop playing this system. It's so good. But I've been playing Tetris DS and Chrono Trigger DS on there because I love the DS. And Chrono Trigger DS is, it's the regular Chrono Trigger game, but all of the UI elements are on the bottom screen. And they've taken all of the UI elements away from the top screen. So it's just, it looks nicer. And I've been playing that and having a lot of fun with it. I don't know if I'll finish it, but it's definitely something that I've been playing.
Nice. That's awesome.
All right, let's get on out of here and say goodbye to everybody. Tell everybody what you're working on and where they can find your stuff.
So I have a couple videos that are like close to done. So about 2. I think one of the ones you'll see soon is just another video essay. It's like a game business sort of video essay. I don't want to give away too much now, but I've been writing about that for the last couple weeks. So hopefully it'll be available around the time that this publishes, like Monday or Tuesday.
Is it the one that you and I talked about?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to that. And they can find that over at youtube.com/fanthedeck. Make sure that you go there, click subscribe. There's a subscribe button right down below. It'll take you right over to his stuff. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. You could have been anywhere for the last, I don't know how long it is because I have an interview in the middle of the podcast. So, but you could have been anywhere, but you decided to hang out with us and we appreciate you. So stay rad, everybody. Bye-bye.
See ya.